My hands trembled as I clutched the manila folder. 10 years of blood, sweat, and countless 18-hour days condensed into quarterly reports. The office walls seemed to close in as I approached my father's corner office in Chicago's financial district. Every step echoed with memories of promises made, of, "Someday this will all be yours." But fathers lie, and betrayal tastes worse when dipped in blood. I'd love to know which corner of the globe you're watching from. And if this story speaks to you, make sure to subscribe. Tomorrow's video is one you absolutely can't miss. I was 18 when my father, Robert Morrison, first let me sit in on a board meeting at Morrison & Associates investment firm. The mahogany conference room felt like a cathedral of capitalism, and I was just a student at Northwestern University, studying finance against the wishes of my mother, who thought I should follow my sister Sarah's footsteps into art history. "Pay attention, Elena," my father had whispered, his cologne carrying notes of cedar and disappointment. "This is your inheritance, whether it's written in my will or not." The firm was drowning in a sea of debt, hemorrhaging clients to more innovative competitors. Dad's traditional approach to investment management hadn't kept pace with the digital revolution. That night, I stayed up until dawn studying our client portfolios, dissecting our competitors' strategies, and mapping out a recovery plan. 4 months later, I dropped out of college. My mother nearly disowned me. "You're throwing away your education!" she screamed from our Lake Forest home. Her wine glass trembled, sending Merlot sloshing across our Persian rug. "I'm saving Dad's legacy," I shot back, not knowing how those words would return to haunt me. The next morning, I walked into Morrison & Associates, wearing my first power suit, a navy Armani my father had bought me for graduation, though I'd never attend the ceremony. The receptionist, Mrs. Chen, barely looked up from her crossword puzzle. "Your father's expecting you in his office, Miss Morrison." The hallway stretched endlessly, lined with photos of successful deals, handshakes with city officials, and family portraits where my sister always seemed to shine brighter. Sarah, 3 years older, had already established herself as an assistant curator at the Art Institute. Mother constantly reminded me how Sarah's path was more respectable for a woman. Dad sat behind his desk, reading the Wall Street Journal. "I've prepared a position for you in accounts receivable." "No," I said flatly. He lowered the paper, eyebrows raised. "Excuse me?" "I didn't give up college to file invoices. I want to rebuild this firm from the ground up." The silence hung heavy with years of unspoken expectations. Finally, he nodded. "Then prove yourself." I started by revolutionizing our client outreach. While Dad insisted on maintaining his network of old money families and established corporations, I targeted tech startups in Evanston and venture capital groups in River North. I created digital presentations, automated our portfolio management system, and learned to code basic algorithms for market analysis. 6 months in, I landed our first tech client, a software company called Meridian Solutions. Their CEO, Jessica Tang, took a chance on us when Goldman Sachs wouldn't even return her calls. That account brought in $2.3 million in management fees our first year. "Not bad, kid," Dad had said, his first real praise. But praise from Robert. Morrison was like water in the desert, sparse and quickly evaporated. By year 2, I'd expanded our portfolio into cryptocurrency investments, much to Dad's horror. "That's gambling, not investing," he'd grumbled. Yet when our Bitcoin holdings tripled and client portfolios showed 127% returns compared to the industry average of 38%, his complaints quieted to mutters. I worked 18-hour days, lived on coffee and protein bars, and forgot what weekends felt like. While Sarah attended gallery openings and charity galas, I pored over market data and financial models. I hired a team of young, hungry analysts, Kyle Williams, straight out of Wharton, Maria Rodriguez from Stanford, and Thomas Chen, a coding prodigy who created algorithms that predicted market movements with 73% accuracy. The turning point came during the pandemic. While other firms scrambled to adapt to remote work, I'd already implemented cloud-based systems and virtual client meetings. We not only maintained operations, but expanded them. Our assets under management grew from $14 million to $85 million in 18 months. Dad finally started involving me in strategic decisions. We'd sit in his office until midnight, debating whether to acquire smaller firms or expand internationally. These moments felt like reconciliation, father and daughter united in building something greater than themselves. By year 5, Morrison & Associates had offices in New York, Los Angeles, and London. Our client roster included Fortune 500 companies, celebrity athletes, and emerging tech billionaires. I'd crafted strategic partnerships with fintech companies, implemented AI-driven investment strategies, and pioneered sustainable investing initiatives that attracted socially conscious billionaires. You destroyed us when you chose daughters over merit. Sarah deserves respect for her path. She didn't deserve mine. The firm's annual revenue hit $43 million by my 7th year. Dad's office still dominated the corner of our Chicago headquarters, but increasingly, clients requested meetings with me specifically. They knew I was the architect of our digital transformation and the mind behind our most innovative strategies. On my 28th birthday, Dad called me into his office. The desk was covered with financial statements. I'd spent 3 months preparing for our Q3 review. "Elena, you've exceeded every expectation I had." He stood, walking to the window overlooking Lake Michigan. "But I need you to understand something about legacy." A chill ran down my spine. The word legacy in our family always came with conditions. When your grandfather started this firm in 1954, he did it to create something lasting for our family. Not just the money, but the name, the reputation, the responsibility to our community. I nodded, though unease crept into my stomach. "Your sister called last week. She's having her first solo exhibition at the Art Institute next month." "I know," I said carefully. "I've been planning to attend." "She wants to transition into philanthropy, start a foundation, use art to heal communities damaged by economic disparity." The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. "Dad, don't..." "It's a noble cause, one that aligns perfectly with our firm's values. Our firm's values that I established: sustainable investing, the community outreach programs, the diversity initiatives. I built all of that." He turned from the window, his face a careful mask. "And you've done brilliantly. But family means sacrifice, Elena. Sometimes that means stepping aside so others can achieve their dreams. I achieved this dream. I saved your firm. I built it into something neither you nor Grandpa could have imagined. And now it's time to share that success." The words echoed in the empty corridors of my mind. 10 years. 10 years of my life, my youth, my sanity, poured into saving something that was meant to be mine. And now he wanted to give it to Sarah, who had shown zero interest in finance, who had mocked my spreadsheet obsession at every family gathering. That night, I reviewed every contract, every client agreement, every partnership deal. I'd been careful, methodical. My name appeared on most of our successful ventures. Client loyalty tied to my reputation, not just the Morrison name. 2 weeks later, I received the official memo. Morrison & Associates would restructure, creating a philanthropic division led by Sarah. The investment management would be jointly led by both sisters, with Sarah taking a larger equity stake to balance past inequities. 3. Years of art history education versus 10 years of rebuilding a dead-end business. My blood boiled reading those words. I scheduled a conference call with our 5 most valuable clients, then systematically began conversations with my team. Their loyalty had always been to me, not to the Morrison name. When your mentor teaches you to see market movements others miss, when they advocate for your promotions, when they understand your vision, that's where real allegiance forms. 6. Weeks after that meeting, as rain pelted the windows of our Chicago office, I sat across from my father one final time. "I'm leaving," I announced, "and I'm taking my clients with me." His face paled. "You can't do that. Non-compete clauses. Written by the lawyers I hired. Reviewed by the law firm where I have a partnership agreement. They're ironclad for external competitors, but void in cases of discriminatory management. Decisions. Elena, you're destroying your family." The next morning, I walked out of Morrison & Associates for the last time. 27 analysts and portfolio managers submitted their resignations. 82 clients transferred their accounts to Morrison Capital Management, the firm I'd incorporated 3 months earlier when I read the writing on the wall. 6 months later, as I sat in my new office overlooking Manhattan's Central Park, my phone buzzed with a text from Dad. "The firm's lost 73% of its value. Sarah can't handle the pressure. I was wrong." I deleted the message without responding. Some lessons come too late for redemption. My new firm hit $100 million in assets under management 9 months later. The Wall Street Journal called me the prodigy who reinvented value investing. Forbes featured me in their Self-Made Women issue. But in family photos, I noticed Sarah's smile grew brighter as mine dimmed into professional neutrality. A lot of love and effort went into bringing this story to life. If you're enjoying it, we'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe to our channel. Now back to where we left off. Mother still calls me every Sunday, pretending nothing has changed. Dad sends quarterly reports on Sarah's struggling philanthropic initiatives. I never open them. Some wounds, once inflicted by blood, never fully heal. Success tastes different when seasoned with betrayal. Every milestone achieved carries the weight of a stolen inheritance. I built an empire, not for myself, but to prove a point to a father who valued family politics over earned merit. In the end, I won the war, but lost something more precious than any fortune, the illusion that our parents always have our best interests at heart. The gleaming towers of New York City stretched before me as I signed the lease for Morrison Capital Management's East Coast headquarters. 3 floors in the historic Seagram building, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering views that made Chicago feel claustrophobic in comparison. My lead architect, Benjamin Torres, had transformed the space into a modern cathedral of glass and steel with AI-driven market boards replacing traditional Bloomberg terminals. But new cities can't escape old ghosts. "Ms. Morrison, Richard Patterson from Bellwether Bank is here for your 3 p.m., my assistant, Grace Liu, announced through the intercom. Patterson controlled a $2.7 billion pension fund, and rumors suggested he wasn't happy with his current managers. Straightened my Valentino blazer and headed to the conference room. Patterson was old-school Wall Street, silver fox hair, Patek Philippe watch, handshake firm enough to test your grip. He'd known my father for 30 years. "Elena Morrison," he said, studying me like a commodity futures chart. Or should I say, Elena Morrison Redux? I prefer to think of myself as Elena Morrison, evolved, I countered, gesturing to our digital modeling systems. "The financial landscape has changed, Mr. Patterson. Those who adapt survive. Those who don't become case. Studies in business school." For the next hour, we dissected market conditions, discussed geopolitical risks, and debated cryptocurrency allocation percentages. Patterson challenged every assertion, probed every strategy. Finally, as Manhattan's afternoon light painted the conference room in amber hues, he stood. "You've certainly grown from the college dropout who used to sit in your father's office taking notes." I wasn't taking notes. I was calculating how to save his failing firm while he clung to 1980s investment philosophy. Patterson actually smiled. At that. "Your father called last week, asked me to consider keeping my assets at Morrison & Associates as a personal favor. My stomach tightened. And what did you tell him? That I invest based on performance, not sentimentality. I'll have my legal team start the transfer paperwork tomorrow. The victory felt hollow. Another client defection would cripple my father's firm further. Part of me wondered if I was building my own success by systematically destroying his. That evening, as I reviewed our portfolio algorithms in my penthouse office, Laura Matthews appeared in my doorway. Laura had followed me from Chicago, a brilliant derivatives trader with an uncanny ability to spot market inefficiencies. "We've got a situation," she said, perching on the edge of my desk. "Connor Tech Holdings just dropped 40% in after-hours trading. They're one of our largest positions." I pulled up the charts. Connor's CEO had been arrested for insider trading. My algorithms hadn't predicted human greed. Run a full analysis. I want to know if this is isolated or systemic within their sector. Already. On it. But Elena, Laura hesitated. Your father called the Bloomberg desk today. Asked about our exposure to tech sector volatility. What does he care? He only calls when Sarah needs something or when he wants to guilt me about family loyalty. He sounded worried. About us, I mean. I pushed away from my desk, walking to the windows. New York pulsed with possibility below, yet conversations about my father still transported me back to that corner office in Chicago, that devastating moment when he chose legacy over merit. Schedule an emergency team meeting for tonight. And bring in the neural network analysis for sector risk. By 2 a.m., we'd developed a comprehensive mitigation strategy. Our hedging positions would cushion the impact, and I'd identified 3 undervalued companies poised to benefit from Connor's market share loss. Crisis management required cold precision, not emotional paralysis. The next weeks blurred into strategic acquisitions and risk realignments. I bought controlling stakes in 2 promising fintech startups and negotiated partnerships with 3 European banks looking to enter the American market. Our quantum computing research division, led by Dr. Sarah Kim from MIT, began developing algorithms that could predict market movements with unprecedented accuracy. Success breeds attention, and attention breeds complications. David Sullivan arrived on a Wednesday morning, escorted by 2 federal agents. The SEC had questions about our trading patterns, specifically how we'd anticipated the tech sector downturn hours before Connor's arrest became public knowledge. Our quantum algorithms detected unusual trading volumes, I explained, pulling up our analysis reports. Pattern recognition at scale, not insider information. Sullivan's investigation stretched 3 weeks. Every trade scrutinized, every algorithm examined, every communication subpoenaed. My legal team, led by Maureen O'Connor, prepared for a protracted legal battle. But something strange happened. My father called. Elena, I've received a subpoena. They're looking into trading patterns going back 15 years. What does that have to do with me? Everything we did at Morrison & Associates is connected to your new firm through the grandfathered accounts. If they find anything questionable from the old days, are you telling me there's something to find? Silence stretched across the phone lines. Your grandfather made certain arrangements in the 1970s. Nothing illegal by those standards, but today's regulatory environment, I felt my carefully constructed world tilting. You need to be more specific. There were offshore accounts, clients who preferred privacy, paper trails that might appear irregular now. And you're telling me this because destroying each other won't protect our family from outside threats. That night, I assembled my legal team. Maureen and her associates worked through historically complex financial arrangements, tracing connections between my father's legacy clients and my current portfolio. We found patterns that, while perfectly legal, could raise regulatory eyebrows. The revelation forced an uncomfortable truth. Despite our animosity, our fates remained entangled. I flew to Chicago the following week. The Morrison & Associates office looked smaller somehow, the mahogany furniture appearing dated rather than prestigious. Dad's secretary, Mrs. Chen, had retired. Her replacement, a young man named Christopher, didn't recognize me. "I'm here to see Mr. Morrison," I said. "Do you have an appointment?" "I'm his daughter." Christopher's eyes widened. "Oh, Ms. Morrison. Which one? Our new managing director or—" "Elena. Tell him Elena's here." Dad looked older, grayer. His office, once immaculate, showed signs of neglect, papers stacked carelessly, dust on the windowsills, an empty coffee mug growing mold. "I wasn't expecting you," he said, not standing to greet me. "We have a mutual problem." I placed the regulatory files on his desk. "The SEC is building a case that could destroy both our firms unless we cooperate." For the next 6 hours, we strategized like we hadn't since my early years at the firm. We identified vulnerable accounts, developed consistent narratives for historical transactions, and mapped out a coordinated legal defense. "Your sister doesn't know about the offshore arrangements," he mentioned during a coffee break. "Sarah can't keep a secret if her life depends on it, and in this case it might. She's struggling with the firm, can't understand why clients keep leaving, because she has an art degree trying to manage a quantitative finance firm." Dad flinched. "She's family. So am I. Or at least, I was before you decided blood meant less than gender balance." We didn't resolve our personal issues that day, but we forged a temporary alliance against external threats. The SEC investigation expanded, pulling in several major investment firms suspected of historical irregularities. I returned to New York, with a complex plan requiring precise coordination. Our firms would operate separately, but share legal resources and historical documentation. Any hint of conflict could expose vulnerabilities. Months passed in a haze of depositions, document, reviews, and strategic maneuvering. The quantum computing division delivered breakthrough insights into market behavior prediction, but the regulatory cloud dampened potential celebrating. Then Sarah called. "Elena, I need help." "With the SEC investigation?" "No, with everything. I'm in over my head. Dad keeps telling me to ask you for advice, but you listened to him tell me I should step aside for you." I was wrong. I see that now. This isn't just about moving money around. It's about understanding systems, predicting changes, managing risk. I spent 10 years studying paintings. You spent 10 years studying markets. The vulnerability in her voice struck something unexpected in me. We'd been rivals by circumstance, not choice. Family politics had driven us apart, but perhaps necessity could bridge the gap. "What specifically do you need?" "Everything. Client relationships are dissolving. The team doesn't respect me. I can barely read our quarterly reports without calling 3 different analysts for explanations." I spent the next weeks coaching Sarah through video calls, teaching her the fundamentals I'd absorbed through years of hands-on experience. We rebuilt the client communication protocol, established performance metrics, and created an education program for her team. The SEC investigation concluded 5 months later. No charges filed, but enough questions raised to implement industry-wide reforms. The experience had forced collaboration between Dad's firm, my new venture, and Sarah's struggling management. On the day the SEC closed their investigation, I received an unexpected package from Chicago. Inside, a handwritten note from Dad. "Elena, you saved us all. The firm, Sarah, me. I was wrong about many things, but I've never been wrong about your brilliance. Dad." Beneath it, his original investment ledger from 1968, the year he started, at Morrison & Associates. Every client carefully recorded in his precise handwriting notes about their families, their concerns, their dreams. I sat in my Manhattan office, holding this piece of our history, understanding finally that building an empire meant acknowledging the foundation others had laid. My father's stubborn traditionalism had nearly destroyed the firm, but it had also preserved values that pure innovation might have abandoned. That weekend, for the first time in 2 years, I attended a family dinner. Mother had cooked her famous pot roast. Sarah brought her current art project, a series of paintings inspired by financial charts and market patterns. "I never thought I'd find beauty in your spreadsheets," Sarah admitted over wine. "They tell stories," I replied. "About human behavior, fear, greed, hope?" Dad raised his glass. "To my family. Even when we're too stubborn to see what matters." We didn't magically heal our rifts that night. Forgiveness requires time, and trust must be earned daily. But we began building bridges rather than walls. My firm continued growing, reaching $250 million in assets under management by year-end. We launched a financial literacy program for underprivileged communities and partnered with universities to develop the next generation of ethical investment managers. Sarah transformed our Chicago office into a hybrid space, investment management with philanthropic innovation. She created programs that used quantitative analysis to identify where charitable funding could create maximum community impact. But success had taught me that winning isn't about defeating others, it's about finding your path while helping others find theirs. The industry journal had called our family's transition the Morrison Evolution, when competition breeds innovation. Late one evening, as I reviewed proposals from our quantum research team, Grace brought me a visitor. "Ms. Morrison, your father's here. He says it's urgent." Dad walked in with a box under his arm. "I found something in the archives. Thought you should have it." Inside were my original business plans for Morrison & Associates' digital transformation. Notes I'd scribbled during countless all-nighters. Sketches for algorithms that became our most successful strategies. I kept these, even after you left. Couldn't bring myself to throw away proof of what you saw before any of us. Why show me? Now? Because tomorrow, Morrison & Associates announces its acquisition by Patterson Holdings. They want Sarah to stay on as head of philanthropy. They want you to consult on the transition. I studied his weathered face, reading decades of pride, regret, and hope. "And what do you want?" "Your mother and I are retiring to Arizona. Son's better for her arthritis. But first, I want to work with you one more time. Help you integrate our systems, protect our legacy clients, ensure the transition benefits everyone." Building something new doesn't always mean destroying what came before. Sometimes it means salvaging the best parts and reimagining their purpose. Over the following months, we charted that middle course together. The Morrison name would continue through Sarah's philanthropic works and my investment innovations. We'd learned that success has many definitions, and family means creating space for each other's dreams while protecting shared values. My firm eventually merged its charitable arm with Sarah's foundations, creating a model for socially conscious investing that other firms began to emulate. We spoke at conferences together, the sisters who turned rivalry into revolution. New York remained my adopted home, but Chicago held pieces of my soul. I split my time between cities, between past and future, between the daughter who'd felt betrayed and the woman who'd learned that betrayal often springs from fear, not malice. In business, they teach you about hostile takeovers and zero-sum games. But the family operates on different principles. We'd all lost something in our conflicts: time, trust, certainty, but gained understanding of what truly matters. Years later, when journalists asked about our family's dramatic transformation, I'd simply say, "We learned that success means making space for each other's victories, not claiming them for ourselves." The empire I'd built stood on foundations older than my own ambitions. Recognizing that didn't diminish my achievements. It expanded their meaning. And sometimes the hardest business deals to negotiate happen around Sunday dinner tables, where the currency is love, not money, and the returns last generations. Part 3. The morning I walked into my father's old office, now transformed into a sleek innovation lab for Morrison Capital's latest acquisition, I found unexpected correspondence on my desk. A thick cream envelope bearing the seal of the Sovereign Investment Authority of Dubai. Princess Amara bint Rashid Al Qasimi wishes to discuss investment opportunities. The letter began in elegant script. Her Highness requests your presence in Dubai to explore establishing a women-led venture fund. I'd never met the princess, but her reputation preceded her. Harvard MBA, known for identifying emerging tech markets, and rumored to have parlayed her family's oil fortune into a $12 billion technology portfolio. She never invested with firms led by men. Dubai? Sarah poked her head into my office. She now visited weekly from Chicago, where she'd brilliantly transformed our abandoned warehouse district into a thriving arts incubator, funded through algorithmic profit optimization. That's exciting. When do you leave? I haven't decided to. Go. Elena Morrison, turning down a meeting with royalty? What happened to the sister who once flew to Singapore with 12 hours' notice? She had a point. At the firm's inception, I'd globe-trotted constantly, chasing opportunities while competitors hesitated. But that was before our world had become nuanced by family complexities and fragile truces. It's just leaving now when everything's finally balanced. Balanced is another word for boring, Sarah countered, something she'd started saying, after abandoning her formal art background for business art fusion projects. Besides, Dad's taking Mom to Arizona next week. I can handle things here for a few days. 3 weeks later, I stood in Princess Amara's private office atop the Burj Al Arab, watching the Persian Gulf shimmer below. She emerged from behind a desk crafted from reclaimed wood from sunken treasure ships, extending a firm handshake. Ms. Morrison, your quantum algorithms for sustainable investing caught my attention. We're exploring similar technologies here, predicting water stress, patterns to invest in innovation there first. For 6 hours, we dissected investment philosophies. She shared her vision, creating venture capital opportunities for women-led tech companies across the Middle East and North Africa, leveraging my firm's algorithmic expertise with her regional knowledge. The barriers here are invisible but real, she explained over mint tea. Women need capital to innovate, but conservative investors won't trust them with it. Your success story could change perceptions. The proposal was staggering. A $2 billion venture fund focused exclusively on female entrepreneurs in emerging markets. Princess Amara offered partnership terms that would catapult our firm into the stratosphere of global influence. That night, alone in my Dubai hotel suite, I videoconferenced with my core team. The opportunity excited them, but implementation required restructuring our entire operational framework. We'd need regional expertise, Laura Matthews pointed out. Different markets, different cultural considerations, and I'm guessing algorithmic. Trading has different regulations there. Already ahead of you, I replied, pulling up a presentation. I've been researching for months. We'd need to establish Dubai-based operations, hire local talent, and create a separate legal entity to navigate Middle Eastern financial systems. Dr. Sarah Kim, my quantum computing director, not my sister, interjected. The computing infrastructure alone would cost $40 million to replicate in Dubai. Are we certain the returns justify that investment? These were the questions that kept emerging entrepreneurs awake at night. But I'd learned that calculated risks differ from reckless gambles. The Menatech market is projected to triple in 5 years. If we establish a first-mover advantage, particularly with Princess Amara's political connections, we could corner a market valued at $200 billion by 2030. Returning to New York, I faced the family council. My expansion would require capital restructuring that affected our interconnected firms. Dad, surprisingly, championed the initiative. When your grandfather started this business, people called him crazy for investing in post-war Germany. Sometimes, the best opportunities require looking beyond familiar horizons. But Sarah raised concerns I hadn't anticipated. What happens to our philanthropic partnerships? The community programs we fund? If you're focused on Dubai? The fund would create capital for initiatives worldwide, I explained. Imagine supporting female entrepreneurs in Cairo, Amman, Riyadh, women who currently have no access to startup funding. But our local commitments, I recognized this pattern. Not sibling rivalry, but the protective instinct we'd both developed for projects we'd nurtured. The conversation lasted deep into the night, mapping out how global expansion could strengthen rather than strain our domestic initiatives. What followed were 3 months of intense preparation. I assembled an exceptional team for the Dubai venture. Mariam Al-Zabi, a Emirati financial analyst who'd cracked predictive models for oil price fluctuations. Lina Hassan, a Lebanese lawyer specializing in cross-border investments. And surprisingly, Kyle Williams, who'd approached me with a radical idea. Let me establish our Middle East presence while maintaining our Chicago operations, Kyle proposed. I'll spend 6 months in each location annually, creating a seamless operational bridge. The logistics alone were staggering. Different time zones, cultural protocols, technological infrastructure, regulatory environments. Each challenge required innovative solutions. Princess Amara proved an invaluable partner. Her team navigated bureaucratic labyrinths that would have frustrated traditional Western firms. We established offices in Dubai International Financial Center, recruited local talent, including several brilliant female programmers who'd graduated top of their classes but couldn't find investment banking opportunities. Our first investment came from an unlikely source. Fatima Al-Rashid, 24, had developed a water purification app that used AI to map groundwater resources and predict contamination. She'd bootstrapped for 2 years, unable to secure traditional funding despite early success in Qatar and Jordan. Male investors kept asking if my engineer, a 58-year-old man, was the real inventor, she told us during her pitch. They couldn't believe someone who wears hijab could code algorithms for this complex. We invested $8 million. Within 6 months, her company expanded to serve 40 million people across the Gulf region. Traditional investment firms suddenly wanted meetings with Fatima. Stories like hers filled our early portfolio. We funded a Dubai-based biotech startup founded by 3 sisters developing cancer detection algorithms. We backed a Syrian refugee in Jordan who'd created a logistics platform connecting small businesses with regional supply chains. But success bred complexity. Cultural misunderstandings emerged regularly. During one video conference, a promising entrepreneur from Bahrain submitted financial projections but refused to meet my female investment director face-to-face, requesting a male intermediary. We lost that deal but gained clarity on our principles. We'd adapt to cultural norms around business protocols, but not compromise on gender equality in our operations. Then came the international incident that threatened everything. A Bloomberg article alleged our fund was laundering money through complex Middle Eastern financial networks. The piece cited anonymous sources claiming we were exploiting Dubai's banking secrecy to hide questionable investments. The accusations were baseless but dangerous. Princess Amara faced scrutiny from her family council. Our investors demanded answers. The SEC, still sensitive from our previous investigation, initiated a new inquiry. I flew to Dubai immediately. In Princess Amara's office, with lawyers from 3 countries present, we strategized our response. The article mentions specific transactions that only someone with internal access could know, she observed, analyzing the Bloomberg piece. This isn't random journalism. It's targeted. Investigation revealed the leak came from a competitor, a major Wall Street firm that had unsuccessfully bid for partnership with the princess's family. They'd planted stories questioning our legitimacy, hoping to sabotage our market position. Rather than reactive defense, we went on analytical offense. Our team, now skilled in cross-continental digital forensics, traced the false information to specific accounts linked to opposing investment managers. We compiled evidence meticulously, then quietly provided it to regulatory authorities in both the US and UAE. The competitor faced sanctions. We won vindication, but learned valuable lessons about international reputation management. During this crisis, my family remained steadfast supporters. Dad, despite his retirement in Arizona, offered counsel. Weathering storms strengthens foundations. The firms that survive aren't those that avoid controversy, but those that handle it with integrity. Sarah developed a PR campaign highlighting our fund's impact, connecting our New York operations with success stories from the Middle East. She organized a cross-continental symposium where our invested entrepreneurs could share experiences. That symposium became legendary in venture capital circles. Fatima al-Rashid presented alongside tech founders from Morocco, Egypt, and Jordan. Their stories resonated globally. Women succeeding against systemic barriers, creating solutions for real-world problems their communities faced. Major corporations reached out for partnerships. Google proposed AI technology sharing. Microsoft offered cloud infrastructure at preferred rates. McKinsey requested consulting contracts to help other firms replicate our cross-cultural investment model. The crisis that could have destroyed us instead catalyzed unprecedented growth. By year 3, our Middle East venture fund had deployed $1.2 billion across 47 companies, creating over 15,000 jobs and generating returns exceeding 45% annually. My life straddled continents. Half my time in Dubai, absorbing Arabic business culture and understanding regional dynamics. Half in New York, maintaining our global algorithmic trading systems and strengthening domestic operations. The travel exhausted me but expanded my worldview. In Dubai's innovative free zones, I saw future business models emerging. In Abu Dhabi's investment forums, I understood how sovereign wealth reshapes global capital flows. In Amman's startup accelerators, I witnessed resilience transforming limited resources into breakthrough innovations. One evening in Dubai, Princess Amara and I sat overlooking the fountain show at the foot of Burj Khalifa. "Your family story intrigues me," she mused. "The conflict that nearly destroyed you ultimately created something stronger." "Conflict often clarifies values," I replied. "We had to lose our way to find our purpose." In my culture, we say a tree with deep roots survives the strongest winds. Your roots run through both your personal history and professional aspirations. Her words resonated. Building something truly transcendent required understanding that success wasn't about choosing between family or fortune, local or global, tradition or innovation. It was about synthesis, combining seemingly opposing forces into something greater than their sum. The fund's success attracted international media attention. Forbes dubbed us the Manhattan-Dubai Axis Rewriting Venture Capital. The Economist featured our cross-cultural investment model as the future of global finance. But achievements measured beyond financial metrics carried deeper meaning. We established the Morrison Al-Qasimi Institute for Cross-Cultural Business Innovation. Universities in New York and Dubai collaborated on exchange programs. Young women from conservative backgrounds gained exposure to business opportunities. Female entrepreneurs from the West learned to navigate Middle Eastern markets successfully. During one institute gathering, a 19-year-old Emirati student approached me. "Ms. Morrison, I see you wear your hair uncovered in business meetings here, but often choose hijab in conservative family gatherings. How do you decide?" Her question crystallized. Years of cultural navigation. Respect isn't about changing who you are. It's about understanding context. I maintain my values while honoring others' traditions. Success comes from finding that balance. The student nodded thoughtfully. 6 months later, she launched a social media app connecting young professional women across cultural divides. We were her first investors. As our 5th year approached, I stood in my dual city offices, surrounded by teams working across time zones. The quantum trading algorithms now incorporated cultural sentiment analysis. Our investment decisions balanced financial returns with social impact metrics we'd developed collaboratively with Middle Eastern partners. Family remained the unexpected keystone. Sarah had evolved our Chicago operations into a template for community-based finance initiatives. She regularly consulted with Princess Amara's philanthropic circle, exchanging ideas about using capital for social transformation. Dad, contrary to predictions of permanent retirement, initiated a consulting practice advising traditional investment firms on cultural adaptation. His stubbornness, once nearly fatal to our business, had transformed into valuable advocacy for evolving with changing markets. Mother, in a surprising twist, authored a cookbook featuring fusion recipes from our global business connections. 50% of proceeds funded female entrepreneurship scholarships. She'd found her own way to contribute to our expanding legacy. On the anniversary of my first meeting with Princess Amara, she extended an invitation to address the United Nations Global Financial Summit. The world needs examples of successful cross-cultural business models, she explained. Your journey, from family conflict to international partnership, offers hope for bridging global divides. The UN speech would be my most significant platform yet. 93 countries were represented. Topics ranging from sustainable development to financial inclusion to women's economic empowerment. As I prepared my remarks, I reflected on the winding path from that devastating moment in my father's Chicago office to this global stage. Building an empire had required demolishing assumptions about family, about geography, about who deserves wealth and power. The empire I'd built was no longer just mine. It belonged to every entrepreneur we'd funded, every family transformed, every community that gained economic agency. Success is measured not in dollars alone, but in doors opened for others. In the quiet hours of Dubai mornings, watching the city awaken with the Islamic call to prayer, I often thought about the girl who dropped out of Northwestern with nothing but determination and a dying family business to save. She couldn't have imagined this trajectory, not the international prestige or wealth, but the profound connections built across cultural chasms. The morning I walked into the UN chamber to deliver my keynote address, I carried the weight of countless stories of resilience, innovation, and the transformative power of believing in human potential regardless of gender or geography. As I took the podium, facing delegates from nations with vastly different values and priorities, I understood my true calling wasn't just building wealth, it was building bridges. My empire wasn't constructed in Manhattan or Dubai alone. It was forged in the intersection of cultures, the collision of perspectives, the alchemy that occurs when apparent opposites find common ground. And like the most successful investments, its greatest returns were yet to be realized, growing. Compound with each generation it touched. Part 4. The United Nations speech birthed unexpected consequences. 6 hours after stepping off that podium, I received a cryptic message in my Manhattan penthouse. Midnight. Roof garden of Mandarin Oriental. Come alone. My security team advised against it, but curiosity trumped caution. At exactly midnight, a figure emerged from the shadows, an elderly woman in an impeccably tailored Chanel suit. I am Zhang Wei. No handshake, just penetrating assessment. You don't know me, but I've been watching your career since you left Northwestern. Zhang Wei controlled Singapore's most secretive wealth management empire, rumored to manage assets for several Asian royal families and tech billionaires who valued absolute discretion. Your speech today wasn't entirely accurate, she continued. Your Dubai fund doesn't represent true cultural bridge building. It's sophisticated PR, nothing more. My hackles rose. I'd disagree. We've invested billions in Western capital applied with Eastern sensitivity isn't revolution. It's colonialism with better marketing. The challenge struck home. Before I could respond, she slid a folder across the table. The Chen Li Consortium, family-owned manufacturing conglomerate in Guangdong Province. Third-generation patriarch facing internal rebellion from younger family members who want to go public. Current valuation, $42 billion. They've rejected every Western firm, but they'll meet with you. Why would they meet with me if they've rejected others? Because your sister's art fusion projects caught their attention. The Chen family patriarch collects contemporary art. He believes anyone who can bridge finance with creativity might understand family dynamics better than traditional investors. The proposal staggered me. Chen Li represented old money China, manufacturing contracts with Apple, Tesla, and Honda. More challenging, it involved family politics more complex than anything I'd encountered. I returned to New York with Zhang, weighs information, and a moral quandary. Taking the Chen Li account would mean 7-month stretches in Guangzhou, further strain on my carefully balanced life, and entering a business culture where corruption is often masqueraded as tradition. Leadership team divided sharply on the opportunity. We're already stretched across 2 continents, Laura argued during our emergency meeting. Adding China means completely restructuring our operations. But Kyle Williams saw deeper implications. The Asian market represents 60% of future global wealth creation. If we establish trust networks there, we will position ourselves for the next century. I struggled with the decision for weeks. The work-life balance I'd fought so hard to achieve would shatter. More troublingly, Chinese business practices often demanded moral compromises I'd spent years avoiding. Then Sarah called with surprising news. The Art Institute wants to showcase contemporary Asian artists next year. They've asked me to curate, but only if I can establish authentic connections with the Chinese art community. How did you know about my China dilemma? Grace mentioned it during a scheduling call. Elena, maybe this is another of those times where our paths intersect for a reason. I booked flights to Shanghai within the week. The Chen Li headquarters in Guangzhou resembled a modern fortress. 20-story complex surrounded by manicured gardens, security that rivaled the Pentagon. The patriarch, Chen Wei-lin, 78, received me in a conference room displaying Picasso originals alongside Ming Dynasty vases. Ms. Morrison, your reputation precedes you, destroyer of family businesses who becomes their savior. His English carried traces of Cambridge education. I prefer to think of myself as someone who helps families preserve what matters while adapting to changing times. For 6 hours, we discussed not business, but philosophy. Confucian principles of family hierarchy versus Western individualism. Chen Wei-lin's eldest son, Chen Jing, wanted to modernize manufacturing processes through Industry 4.0 automation. His daughter, Chen Xiao, advocated for sustainable practices and ethical labor conditions. The youngest, Chen Dai, pushed for an IPO to access capital markets. In your experience, how does one honor ancestral wisdom while embracing necessary change? The question echoed my own journey. Sometimes the most profound respect is knowing when traditions need reinterpretation, not abandoning them. For 7 months, I split time between New York operations, Dubai oversight, and Guangzhou immersion. Learning Mandarin basics, understanding Guanxi, the intricate network of relationships and obligations. Discovering that in Chinese business, culture, family harmony is often valued above profit maximization. The Chen Li engagement required unprecedented cultural flexibility. I implemented practices that would seem unorthodox in Western contexts, employing a feng shui consultant for office layout, participating in elaborate tea ceremonies before business discussions, learning to interpret subtle facial expressions that replaced direct confrontation. My team adapted variously. Laura struggled initially. Her direct communication style clashed with Chinese indirectness. But she developed remarkable emotional intelligence, learning to read unspoken signals during negotiations. Dr. Sarah Kim unexpectedly flourished. Her Korean-American background provided cultural bridges we hadn't anticipated. She became our primary liaison for technical discussions, explaining quantum computing concepts through metaphors that resonated with Confucian thinking. The real breakthrough came not through business metrics, but through Sarah's art project. She convinced the Chen family to sponsor a contemporary art exchange, Chinese artists exhibiting in Chicago, American artists in Guangzhou. The cultural initiative created trust faster than any financial proposal could. Chen Weilin's grandson, 23-year-old Chen Bao, emerged as an unexpected ally. Fresh from Stanford's engineering program, he understood both Western innovation culture and Chinese family obligations. "My grandfather tests everyone," he confided during a private dinner. "The manufacturing crisis is real, but what he truly seeks is someone who respects our way while bringing new perspectives." 9 months into our engagement, crisis struck from an unexpected quarter. A Wall Street Journal exposé revealed several Chenli factories maintained working conditions below international standards. Environmental audits uncovered chemical dumping in local rivers. Human rights organizations accused the company of exploiting worker vulnerability. The revelations could destroy our reputation globally. Princess Amara called immediately. "If these allegations prove true, our Dubai partners will demand you sever ties immediately." I flew to Guangzhou for emergency meetings. Chen Weilin sat stone-faced as his legal team presented denials and justifications. These practices were standard when we began manufacturing in the 1970s, the patriarch explained. Times change slowly in traditional industries. Times have changed, I responded carefully. But more importantly, your own grandchildren are ashamed of these practices. What legacy do you want to leave them? For 48 hours, I worked with Chen Jing and Chen Xiao to develop a comprehensive reform plan. $200 million invested in worker housing, environmental cleanup, fair wage implementation, and third-party monitoring systems. The most contentious issue was transparency. Western media demanded full access. Chinese business culture valued private solutions. We crafted innovative compromise, establishing an independent board including representatives from international labor organizations, local, community leaders, and Chen family members. This board would oversee reforms with quarterly accountability reports. The solution required Chen Weilin to cede unprecedented control, a psychological challenge for someone who'd ruled absolutely for 50 years. Late one evening, the patriarch requested a private meeting in his personal garden. "My grandson says you also faced betrayal by your father." I'd never shared that story in China, but information travels through mysterious channels. "Yes," I replied carefully. "How did you find balance between family duty and personal integrity?" His vulnerability surprised me. I learned that protecting family sometimes means challenging them. Real loyalty involves difficult conversations, not silent compliance. Chen Weilin nodded slowly. Perhaps it's time for this old tree to bend with new winds. The transformation of Chenli manufacturing became a case study in sustainable industrial evolution. We implemented worker education programs, partnered with MIT for green technology development, and created a supply chain transparency initiative that other Chinese manufacturers began adopting. Financial results exceeded projections. Sustainable practices reduced costs long-term. Enhanced worker conditions improved productivity and reduced turnover. Ethical certifications opened new market channels in Europe and North America. But success carried philosophical weight. I'd entered Chinese markets determined to avoid cultural imperialism, yet orchestrated changes that reshaped traditional business structures. The line between necessary evolution and cultural erosion remained perpetually blurred. Princess Amara visited our Guangzhou operations months later. "You've achieved what many thought impossible, maintaining Western investment standards while respecting Eastern business culture." "Respect doesn't mean acceptance of harmful practices," I responded. It means understanding context while advocating change. The Chen-Li engagement catalyzed broader transformation. Other Chinese family businesses sought our counsel on sustainable modernization. We developed frameworks balancing Confucian values with contemporary governance standards. Zhang Wei, the mysterious woman who'd challenged me on that New York rooftop, appeared again, this time in Guangzhou. "I underestimated you," she admitted. "True cultural bridge building requires the courage to demand better from all sides, not just comfort in differences." Her investment network began referring clients to our firm. Within a year, we managed $15 billion in Asian family office portfolios. Wealth accumulated over centuries, seeking ethical modernization without losing ancestral values. My global operation now spanned 4 continents. The complexities of managing across time zones, cultural nuances, and family dynamics required systems I'd never imagined designing. We implemented rotating leadership structures, different executives physically present in each major office quarterly. Technology connected us, but face-to-face presence remained irreplaceable for trust building. Family dynamics continued evolving. Mom started teaching international cooking classes to wives of our global clients, creating unofficial cultural bridges through shared meals. Dad consulted for the World Bank on emerging market investments, applying lessons from our cross-cultural successes. Sarah's art finance fusion gained international recognition. Her installations using real-time market data to create visual representations helped non-financial audiences understand global economic forces. Museums in Beijing, Dubai, and New York competed for her exhibitions. The UN invited me back, not as a speaker, but as an advisor on developing ethical investment guidelines for emerging economies. The irony wasn't lost on me. The girl once accused of betraying family values now helped craft international standards for family business governance. During a late Tokyo night, reviewing Japanese market expansion plans, I received notification of a Pulitzer nomination for our firm's environmental impact reporting system. What struck me wasn't potential prestige, but how far we'd traveled from purely profit-driven metrics. The empire I'd built operated on principles unimaginable to traditional finance: family dynamics influencing investment decisions, cultural ceremonies integrated with corporate governance, art installations enhancing economic understanding, environmental sustainability treated as mandatory rather than optional. In Davos, at the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab introduced me as the architect of 21st century stakeholder capitalism. The title felt simultaneously accurate and insufficient. Building across cultures had taught me that artificial boundaries between profit and purpose, tradition and innovation, East and West, limited human potential. Real transformation required dissolving such divisions, finding synthesis in apparent contradictions. Years after that devastating conversation in Dad's Chicago office, I understood that betrayal had been the forge in which my true vision was tempered. Family conflict forced me to question inherited assumptions. Cultural immersion challenged Western business orthodoxy. And the weight of responsibility taught me that power's greatest purpose is creating opportunity for others. By the beginning of our 8th year, our cross-continental operations influenced global capital allocation patterns. Pension funds in Scandinavia adopted our ethical investment algorithms. Private equity firms in Mumbai studied our cultural integration frameworks. Sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East partnered on sustainable technology ventures. Yet the measure of success I valued most remained deeply personal. Receiving handwritten letters from entrepreneurs whose businesses we'd funded, from workers whose conditions we'd improved, from young women who saw new possibilities because someone had invested in their potential. The global empire I'd constructed wasn't about dominance but connection. Not about imposing values, but expanding understanding. Not about individual achievement, but collective evolution. Standing on my office balcony overlooking Shanghai's financial district, I often thought about that younger version of myself, the college dropout who'd approached her father's dying firm with desperate determination. She couldn't have foreseen this outcome, couldn't have imagined how personal betrayal would catalyze a quest for global business transformation. The empire's true architecture wasn't built in boardrooms or trading floors, but in moments of cultural understanding bridging seemingly unbridgeable divides. In rooms where Mandarin mixed with English, where Islamic finance principles informed quantum trading algorithms, where family loyalty transcended national boundaries. That architecture continued reshaping itself daily, adapting to new challenges, learning from each failure, building strength through diversity rather than uniformity. The empire's foundation, ironically, rested not on granite certainty, but on the flexible wisdom of knowing when to preserve tradition and when to embrace change. As markets opened across time zones, as cultures continued their eternal dance of conflict and cooperation, the empire's true legacy remained in progress. Not a finished monument to achievement, but a living experiment in how business could evolve to serve humanity's highest aspirations while honoring its deepest traditions. The eye. Quantum algorithm detected it first, a pattern so subtle our traditional analysis systems missed entirely. At 3:47 a.m. Tokyo time, Dr. Sarah Kim burst into our video conference call, her face illuminated by multiple screens. "Elena, we've found something extraordinary. Our quantum systems identified a previously unknown correlation between lunar cycles and certain Asian biotech stock movements." "That sounds like astrology, not finance," Laura interjected skeptically. "That's what I thought until I cross-referenced with traditional Vietnamese and Korean medical calendar systems. Companies developing treatments for autoimmune diseases see predictable volatility patterns aligned with lunar phases, not because of the moon itself, but because of cultural decision-making patterns in family businesses. The discovery revolutionized our understanding of algorithmic trading. We began incorporating temporal cultural factors, Islamic calendar considerations for Middle Eastern markets, Chinese zodiac influences on Hong Kong trading. Even American football season impacts on consumer spending patterns. This breakthrough arrived simultaneously with a crisis that threatened our entire operation. Morocco's King Hassan VI requested an emergency meeting. Our North African operations had inadvertently violated complex religious investment guidelines. Our algorithm had invested pension funds in companies with microscopic alcohol production divisions. These investments represent 0.03% of company revenues, but in matters of Sharia compliance, intention matters as much as percentage, explained the king's financial advisor, Abdullah al-Mansouri. The violation could trigger withdrawal of $8 billion in investments from our Middle Eastern funds. More devastating, it could destroy the trust Princess Amara and I had spent years building. I flew to Rabat immediately. The meeting room in the royal palace overlooked ancient gardens where lions once roamed centuries ago. "Your Majesty, we accept full responsibility. Our algorithm didn't adequately account for religious investment guidelines." King Hassan VI studied me carefully. "Your sister's art exhibition in Casablanca last month featured a controversial piece depicting traditional Islamic patterns with modern techniques. Some called it sacrilege, others called it evolution. I sensed deeper meaning in," his words, "innovation and tradition are often mistaken for enemies when they should be partners." Precisely. But partnerships require understanding boundaries. What followed was an intensive month of developing the world's first AI system, specifically designed to navigate religious investment guidelines across multiple faiths. We partnered with Islamic scholars in Qatar, Jewish investment specialists in Israel, Hindu financial experts in India, and Christian finance professors from Vatican University programs. The Faithware Protocol learned to interpret religious texts' financial implications, adjusting investment strategies across 47 different religious interpretations of ethical finance. The system worked, but implementing it revealed the intricate weave between finance and faith. Some investments appeared technically compliant but violated spiritual intentions. Others seemed problematic superficially but aligned with religious modernization movements. During this period, my own faith, fractured since Dad's betrayal, found unexpected evolution. Attending Friday prayers in Dubai's Grand Mosque, lighting Shabbat candles with our Israeli tech partners in Tel Aviv, meditating in Varanasi's Hindu temples while studying impact investment models. These experiences transformed business from pure transaction to spiritual stewardship. Faith isn't about certainty, Dr. Muhammad Al-Fakir, our Islamic finance consultant, observed one evening over dates and Arabic coffee. It's about navigating uncertainty with wisdom, much like investing. The Faithware protocol expanded beyond simple compliance. It began identifying investment opportunities that aligned with multiple religious ethical standards. Sustainable agriculture supporting Islamic halal requirements while meeting Jewish kosher specifications. Medical research benefiting from Christian religious hospital networks while respecting Buddhist nonviolence principles. Our first multi-faith investment fund launched with unprecedented backing, $12 billion from investors spanning Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Sikhism. The fund focused on healthcare innovation, education technology, and environmental solutions that aligned across faith traditions. But bridging religious divides through finance awakened unexpected opposition. Conservative religious groups in multiple countries protested our theological dilution. Ultra-Orthodox rabbis in Jerusalem condemned our Israeli partners for financial miscegenation. Hardline imams in Pakistan issued warnings against mixing Islamic and infidel investment principles. The backlash intensified when we launched a faith-forward venture fund exclusively for entrepreneurs from religious minorities in their regions: Christians in Syria, Buddhists in Bangladesh, Muslims in Myanmar. During a Zoom call with religious leaders from 17 countries, attempting to address their concerns, the video connection suddenly cut out. When it returned, every participant had been replaced by shadowy figures using voice modulators. "Ms. Morrison," a distorted voice announced, "your interference in religious financial traditions has been noted. Consider this your only warning." The cyber attack originated from unknown sources, but demonstrated sophistication suggesting state or organizational backing. Our security team identified attempts to breach our quantum financial algorithms, code that could theoretically manipulate global markets if stolen. I refused to retreat. If anything, the threat convinced me that religious financial bridge building threatened certain power structures for exactly the right reasons. The following months saw escalating digital warfare. Anonymous hackers targeted our systems daily. Propaganda campaigns depicted me as a modern crusader attacking religious purity. Sophisticated misinformation spread through religious social networks. Surprisingly, many traditional religious leaders rallied to our defense. The great Imam of Al-Azhar University in Cairo issued a public statement. Those who fear cooperation between faiths reveal their own insecurity. Allah's wisdom manifests through diverse paths. Similar support emerged across traditions. The Dalai Lama made unexpected comments about financial karma during a Silicon Valley visit. The Archbishop of Canterbury, during a discussion on ethical capitalism, mentioned our work as an example of practical ecumenism. The religious conflict merged with another emerging crisis, the AI arms race in financial prediction. Our quantum computing advantage attracted attention from state actors. Chinese intelligence approached Dr. Kim with a $500 million offer for our algorithmic source code. When she refused, her family in Seoul received veiled threats. The NSA demanded backdoor access to our systems, citing national security concerns. We maintained that financial algorithms shouldn't be weaponized for governmental surveillance, but pressure mounted through legal challenges and regulatory investigations. 6 months of intense negotiations resulted in a novel solution. We created a sentinel version of our algorithms specifically for government use in tracking financial terrorism, while maintaining commercial versions free from state surveillance. The precedent established new frameworks for how private financial technology could assist national security without compromising civilian privacy. During this period, an unlikely alliance formed with our erstwhile Chinese competitor. Jiang Wei's network helped us navigate Asian governmental demands for technology access, while establishing protocols protecting proprietary innovations. In defending independence from state control, we must sometimes cooperate strategically, Jiang Wei observed during secret meetings in Singapore. Her centuries-old family wealth network had survived revolutions by understanding when resistance required collaboration. The crisis resolution spawned innovation. We developed the world's first truly autonomous financial AI, systems that could detect and prevent their own weaponization, implementing kill switches if hijacked for harmful purposes. These protective algorithms learned from game theory, quantum, encryption, and, ironically, religious philosophical texts about self-limitations of power, Jewish Talmudic reasoning, Islamic jurisprudence, Buddhist mindfulness principles, and Christian just war theory all contributed to an AI ethical framework. The technological breakthrough arrived alongside personal upheaval. Sarah suffered a stroke during a gallery opening in Shanghai. Not severe, but enough to force confrontation with mortality and family dynamics we'd long avoided. I flew to Beijing Medical Center where she was recovering. The stark hospital room contrasted sharply with her usual creative environments. I was thinking, she said, her speech slightly slurred but determined, about Dad's original betrayal. Maybe we interpreted it wrong. How do you reinterpret giving away someone's life's work? He was terrified. The firm was failing. He saw me as safer. Art isn't as volatile as markets. Maybe he protected what he thought I could handle while trusting you to handle yourself. Her perspective shift resonated uncomfortably. Protection often manifests as limitation. Perhaps Dad had undermined me to save me from spectacular failure he couldn't prevent. We spent years fighting shadows, I acknowledged. Real enemies deserve that energy more. 3 months later, Dad joined us for Thanksgiving at Sarah's converted Chicago warehouse. The space now functions as a hybrid gallery and community financial education center. Local high schools brought students to learn about economics through interactive art installations. I've been thinking, Dad said during dessert, about starting a memoir, not about the firm's history, but about lessons learned from being wrong. About betraying me? I asked directly. About thinking I could control outcomes. About measuring worth in inheritance rather than character. About missing what you were building because I feared losing what I thought I had. The conversation continued, late into the night. Forgiveness emerged not through dramatic declarations, but through gradual acknowledgement. Understanding replaced resentment. Meanwhile, the global financial system approached inflection points our algorithms predicted with increasing accuracy. Climate change accelerated wealth migration, coastal real estate investments plummeting. While inland infrastructure projects surged, we developed predictive models combining environmental science, demographic trends, and economic forecasts. These models revealed startling patterns. Northern latitude cities would see property values triple by 2040, while tropical metropolises faced calculated decline. The ethical dilemma intensified. Our predictions could accelerate wealth transfers, creating self-fulfilling prophecies that enriched informed investors while devastating vulnerable communities unaware of coming changes. I proposed radical transparency, publishing our climate finance predictions publicly, allowing governments and organizations time to implement protective measures rather than reactive panic. The decision cost us competitive advantages, but aligned with evolved principles. Profit without purpose felt increasingly hollow. You're literally giving away gold mines, Laura protested during a board meeting. We're building the future we want to inhabit, I countered. Hoarding information about climate catastrophe makes us complicit in its worst effects. Our transparent approach revolutionized disaster preparedness finance. The World Bank adopted our models for restructuring disaster relief funds. Insurance companies recalculated risk models based on our projections. Wealthy nations began climate migration planning decades before crises manifested. The transformation elevated our firm to unexpected roles. Beyond managing wealth, we became stewards of systemic transition. Helping civilization adapt to planetary changes, financial systems could no longer ignore. Princess Amara expanded our partnership into a global transition fund, $50 billion, focused on economically viable solutions to climate adaptation, social inequality, and technological transformation. Traditional investing optimizes for past patterns, she explained during the fund announcement. We must invest for futures that have never existed before. The fund's portfolio defied conventional categories. We invested in floating cities designed for rising seas, vertical farming systems for water-scarce regions, AI educators personalizing learning for marginalized populations. Each investment required new valuation methods. How do you measure the ROI of preventing civilizational collapse? Traditional metrics failed spectacularly. We developed impact-adjusted returns, algorithms calculating not just financial gains, but societal preservation value. These calculations revealed that conventional high-profit investments often carried catastrophic hidden costs. The methodology attracted criticism from traditional finance quarters. Morrison Capital prioritizes feelings over fiduciary duty, Bloomberg editorials claimed. Yet sovereign wealth funds, pension systems, and family offices increasingly adopted our frameworks. The realization grew that sustainable returns required sustainable systems. By our 10th year, we managed over $300 billion globally, impressive figures masking more significant transformations. We'd helped rewrite rules governing cross-border capital flows, established precedents for religious financial cooperation, and demonstrated that profit could align with planetary survival. But the victory arrived with sobering clarity. The empire built to prove worth had evolved into responsibility for financial system transformation. The weight of influence multiplied exponentially. Late one evening in our Tokyo office, watching typhoon clouds gather over the Pacific, Dr. Kim shared a discovery. Our quantum algorithms detected something unsettling. Multiple sovereign debt markets show coordinated manipulation patterns. Not criminal exactly, but suggestive of a new class of financial warfare. The implications were staggering. Nation-states using algorithmic trading to weaponize debt markets, applying economic pressure without traditional sanctions. I realized then that our next frontier wouldn't be geographic expansion or technological innovation, but navigating geopolitical economics where finance had become the primary battlefield. The empire I'd built wasn't just managing wealth, it was becoming an intelligence network, a diplomatic bridge, and potentially a neutral mediator in conflicts, where traditional armies were replaced by quantum algorithms. As I prepared to address this emerging challenge, a handwritten letter arrived from an unknown sender. Ms. Morrison, your father once betrayed you. Consider that preparation for betrayals yet to come. When governments weaponize finance, whose side will you choose? The fate of neutral money may rest in your decisions. Choose wisely. The future depends on it. The era of simple family conflict had ended. In its place loomed questions about loyalty, neutrality, and the role of private financial power in shaping civilization's trajectory. The empire I'd built to prove personal worth had unknowingly positioned itself at the nexus of humanity's greatest challenges. The lessons learned from family betrayal now served as foundation for navigating betrayals on a global scale. Building something greater than oneself meant accepting responsibilities greater than imagined. The story of my journey had always been about more than money. It was about trust, betrayal, redemption, and ultimately, the human capacity to transform personal wounds into planetary healing. As quantum-enhanced algorithms analyzed global financial flows in real time, predicting crises and opportunities with uncanny accuracy, I understood that the empire's future chapters would be written not in boardrooms, but in the uncertain space between competing visions of humanity's future. The betrayal that had forged me now equipped me to navigate betrayals that could shape history itself. 3 months after receiving the anonymous warning, geopolitical financial warfare erupted across multiple fronts. Argentina's sovereign debt markets experienced algorithmic flash crashes designed to trigger defaults. Ghana's newly discovered lithium reserves faced coordinated short-selling attacks from unknown entities, devastating their currency valuation. Our quantum systems identified the attackers' fingerprints, sophisticated algorithms originating from servers distributed across 17 countries, masking ultimate sources. But patterns revealed themselves to those who knew where to look. In an undisclosed location, coordinates known only to my closest advisors, I established Project Equilibrium. Our mission: preserve financial system stability without becoming complicit in state-sponsored economic warfare. The first test arrived on a Tuesday morning. South Korea's won dropped 12% in 14 minutes. Our systems detected coordinated attacks from what appeared to be Chinese quantum networks, though attribution remained deliberately obscured. "Do we intervene?" Laura asked during an emergency session. "If we stabilize Korea, we potentially antagonize China. If we don't, we allow market manipulation that could trigger a regional crisis." I chose a middle path, providing real-time attack pattern data to both governments while maintaining strict neutrality. South Korea implemented defensive measures. China, through backdoor channels, acknowledged they weren't the source, but suspected Russian operatives testing Western response protocols. This incident established precedent. Our firm would function as financial Switzerland, providing intelligence without taking sides, preserving system integrity without political allegiance. But neutrality proved increasingly challenging as the financial Cold War intensified. Project Equilibrium grew rapidly. We recruited former intelligence officers, economic warfare specialists, and quantum computing experts. Among them was Viktor Petrov, a former FSB, Russian Security Service Cyber Division Director, who defected after Moscow attempted militarizing financial AI. During Soviet times, economics was state-controlled, Victor explained in his heavy accent. Now, economics controls states. Those who master financial algorithms dictate international power structures. His insights proved invaluable. Russia, China, and the U.S. had each developed quantum financial warfare capabilities, though implementation strategies differed significantly. Russia favored chaos tactics, destabilizing competitors through market panic. China preferred gradual economic encirclement. The U.S. optimized for targeted sanctions amplification. Our role evolved into something unprecedented, a non-state actor critical to maintaining global financial stability. Central banks consulted us on cyber defense. The IMF sought our analysis for understanding algorithmic market dynamics. Even traditional rivals occasionally cooperated when systemic threats emerged. During this period, personal relationships became geopolitical chess pieces. Dr. Chen Bao, the Chen Li heir I'd mentored, rose to prominence in Chinese tech investment circles. His quantum research division discovered vulnerabilities in U.S. financial institutions' legacy systems. He privately informed me first, testing loyalties built years earlier. "Elena, my government asks for this information, but sharing it could destabilize markets you've worked to protect." We developed an elegant solution. He would publish the vulnerabilities as academic papers, allowing all nations time to patch systems before exploits occurred. The approach prevented weaponization while maintaining transparency, but not everyone appreciated nuanced diplomacy. The confrontation began in Davos. Henry Cavendish, managing director of Sovereign Strategies, a secretive Washington, D.C. firm known for utilizing economic analysis to influence policy, accused me of financial treason. Your neutrality enables adversaries, he announced during a panel discussion. When American interests suffer, you choose profit over patriotism. I choose system stability over destructive competition, I responded. Patriotism means preserving the institutions that protect all nations' prosperity, not accelerating their decline. The exchange went viral. Social media exploded with debates about private financial power versus national interest. Some praised our neutral stance as necessary for global stability. Others condemned it as betrayal of Western values. The controversy reached the White House. President Matthews requested a private meeting. In the Oval Office, she expressed understanding of our position while emphasizing American concerns. We can't control you, Ms. Morrison, but we need assurance your algorithms won't ever be turned against democratic institutions. I proposed creating an international oversight board, representatives from various democratic governments, international, financial institutions, and civil society organizations. This board would audit our quantum systems quarterly, ensuring no single nation could weaponize our technology. The Davos Alliance emerged from this proposal, a framework for private financial operators maintaining neutrality while providing transparency to stakeholders, similar to Red Cross principles but for economic infrastructure. Yet alliance formation triggered unexpected opposition. Project Mockingbird resurfaced, a declassified CIA initiative from decades past that had infiltrated media and financial institutions. Modern iterations attempted penetrating our organization through carefully planted operatives. We discovered the infiltration when quantum anomalies appeared in our Dubai market predictions. Subtle algorithmic alterations attempting to bias our systems toward American strategic interests. The mole was unexpected. Christopher Yang, head of our Southeast Asian operations, revealed to have multiple allegiances, officially working for us, secretly reporting to Beijing, actually controlled by intelligence networks serving neither China nor the U.S., but an unnamed third party seeking to weaponize financial technology for shadow government purposes. The age of nation-state competition is ending, Yang confessed during interrogation. True power emerges through decentralized networks controlling quantum financial networks. I've been preparing infrastructure for the post-national order. His vision aligned disturbingly with trends we'd observed. Cryptocurrency protocols enabling stateless transactions, quantum encryption making capital flows untraceable, algorithmic trading creating automated economies independent of traditional governance. We couldn't turn Yang over to any single government without enabling their monopoly on this intelligence. Instead, I convened a secret meeting with intelligence chiefs from 27 countries. In a secured facility outside Geneva, I presented evidence of an emerging threat. Non-state actors utilizing quantum finance, NSAQF. Your nations compete for algorithmic supremacy, I explained to the assembled spies and financial regulators. But private networks are developing capabilities that could render your competition irrelevant. The intelligence cooperation that followed was unprecedented. A covert alliance formed between agencies typically viewing each other as adversaries. They needed our quantum financial intelligence. We needed their human intelligence networks. Project Equilibrium expanded into a global early warning system. We detected attempted financial systems manipulations before execution, identified bad actors across ideological spectrum, and most importantly, prevented escalation of economic warfare into kinetic conflict. But power's gravity warps perspective. The more central we became to financial stability, the more pressure mounted to choose sides. The breaking point arrived when North Korea attempted crashing South Korean markets to destabilize their government. Our algorithms detected the attack vector immediately. We could either intervene decisively, essentially choosing sides in an unresolved conflict, or maintain neutrality, and watch potential economic devastation unfold. I chose a third path that nearly destroyed us. We engineered a counteroffensive that appeared to originate from South Korean quantum networks, but actually deployed from our systems. The attack succeeded in diffusing North Korean efforts while making our role invisible. But Zhang Wei discovered our deception. "You've crossed a line," she warned during an emergency Singapore summit. "Neutrality means accepting some suffering to preserve greater stability. When you manipulate attribution, you become a puppet master rather than a peacekeeper." Her rebuke stung because it held the truth. We'd rationalized action through outcome, preventing crisis-justified deception. But foundation of trust required absolute transparency, even when honesty complicated missions. We implemented new protocols. Project Equilibrium would never again execute covert actions. All interventions would be announced publicly, with full methodology disclosed. This transparency sometimes prevented immediate action, but preserved long-term credibility. The change revolutionized financial warfare dynamics. Knowing their attempts would be instantly publicized with technical details, bad actors faced different calculus. Some attacks decreased. Others became more sophisticated to avoid detection and attribution. During this evolution, family dynamics reached unexpected harmonies. Sarah's art installations increasingly incorporated real-time financial data visualization, creating spaces where people could physically experience global market movements. Her most successful piece, Dancing with Dragons, allowed visitors to interact with representations of various sovereign wealth funds' trading patterns through motion sensors. "Art makes invisible power structures visible," she explained at the Venice Biennale. "Elena shows how money moves. I show how it feels." Dad developed a series of lectures for universities about evolving from fortress capitalism to bridging finance. His age and experience lent gravitas when discussing how traditional approaches had failed the digital age. "My daughter built what I couldn't even imagine," he told Stanford business students, because she understood that revolution sometimes requires family tradition's dissolution to achieve its highest purposes. Mom, in a development surprising everyone, became a social media phenomenon. Her Morrison matriarch account combined cooking, tutorials with cultural bridge-building wisdom. Videos showing how to prepare fusion dishes paralleled lessons about merging business practices across cultures. "Making Persian Korean tacos taught me that the best new creations honor all their ingredients," she posted to 2.3 million followers. Her unexpected fame created soft power opportunities. Hostile nations' leaders more willing to negotiate with someone whose grandmother watched Mom's cooking channel. The family reconciliation provided emotional stability essential for navigating geopolitical pressures. We'd learned that strengthening internal bonds created resilience necessary for external challenges. Project Equilibrium's success bred ambitious offspring. We launched the Financial Immune System Initiative, quantum algorithms designed to detect and neutralize economic warfare agents automatically, like biological antibodies protecting against viruses. The technology worked brilliantly but raised ethical questions. Who decides what constitutes financial aggression versus legitimate competition? Our systems needed parameters distinguishing normal market behavior from manipulative attacks. We established the International Council of Financial Ethics, theologians, philosophers, economists, and behavioral scientists collaborating to define algorithmic warfare boundaries. Their work produced Geneva Protocols for Economic Conflicts, rules of engagement preventing total financial warfare while allowing market competition. But even carefully designed systems face unintended consequences. 6 months after the financial immune system's deployment, global markets achieved unprecedented stability. Volatility dropped to historical lows. Financial warfare attempts were instantly identified and neutralized. Yet this stability triggered an unexpected crisis. Without risk, investment returns plummeted. Pension funds struggled to meet obligations. insurance companies couldn't generate sufficient reserves. The very stability we'd created threatened to starve the capitalism it protected. "We've created a beautiful system for a world that doesn't exist," Kyle Williams observed during crisis assessment. "Real economies need controlled chaos. Innovation emerges from risk. Evolution requires pressure." We calibrated back, allowing calculated instability while maintaining guardrails against catastrophic disruption. The solution required ongoing adjustments, balancing protection with natural economic dynamism. By the end of our 11th year, Project Equilibrium had evolved far beyond its origins. We operated a successful financial intelligence network spanning continents, ideologies, and historical adversaries. Our quantum algorithms protect global financial infrastructure while enabling legitimate competition. But success attracted the ultimate challenge. Late one December evening, as winter claimed New York, I received a quantum-encrypted message from a source that could only be described as cosmic. The signal originated from coordinates in geosynchronous orbit. "Ms. Morrison, you're terrestrial. Financial systems interest us. We require consultation on intergalactic trade protocols. First contact often begins with economics. Earth's qualification for stellar commerce networks depends upon demonstrated financial sophistication. Are you prepared for the true test of your neutrality principles?" I stared at the message, simultaneously skeptical and thrilled. Could humanity's first extraterrestrial contact really begin with monetary policy? Before I could question my sanity, the quantum algorithms confirmed the transmission's authenticity. Signal processing analyzed its origins. The physics checked out. Something was indeed broadcasting from approximately 22,236 miles above Earth's equator. Whether first contact or the most elaborate hoax in history, the implications staggered. Project Equilibrium had prepared to maintain financial stability among Earth's competing interests. But how would our carefully balanced neutrality function when mediating between planetary and extraterrestrial economic systems? The empire I'd built from family betrayal now faced expansion, beyond terrestrial boundaries. The skills honed through diplomatic finance, quantum trading ethics, and multicultural monetary frameworks would be tested on a stage I'd never imagined. As I drafted humanity's first response to cosmic economic inquiry, one thought dominated. If I could negotiate peace between historical enemies on Earth, maybe our species was indeed ready for the ultimate frontier in financial diplomacy. Or perhaps this was merely a simulation test by some earthly intelligence agency measuring our readiness for scenarios beyond current imagination. Either way, Project Equilibrium had reached an inflection point where science fiction and financial reality intersected. The next chapter of my journey would determine not just the fate of my business empire, but possibly humanity's position in the galactic economic order. The betrayal that had forged my path had ultimately led to becoming a potential bridge between worlds, financial and perhaps literally celestial. Looking up at winter stars from my Manhattan office, I wondered if Dad's original betrayal had been part of some larger cosmic preparation. The thought was almost too metaphysical for my quantitative mind. But in a universe where quantum physics defied intuition and financial systems displayed properties of complex organisms, anything seemed possible. The empire was about to extend beyond Earth, and I'd built exactly the skills needed for such an extraordinary expansion, though I hadn't realized it until the invitation arrived from among the stars. The Quantum Telescope Array in Chile's Atacama Desert pinpointed the signal's source. Dr. Elena Martinez, lead astronomer, displayed infrared images revealing a crystalline structure orbiting Earth's gravitational well. "It appeared 6 days ago," she explained during a secure video conference. "NASA classified it immediately. Now you're saying it's financial?" The structure, designated Object X-271, defied known physics. Approximately 3 kilometers in diameter, It maintained a stable orbit despite conventional propulsion absence. Its surface reflected electromagnetic frequencies and mathematical patterns our quantum computers recognized as economic protocols. Their first message referenced intergalactic trade networks, I confirmed. They want consultation on Earth's qualification for stellar commerce. And you believe this? Our quantum encryption confirms transmission authenticity. Signal origin precisely matches Object X271's coordinates. Whether advanced AI simulation or extraterrestrial contact, ignoring it risks missing humanity's greatest opportunity. Within 48 hours, I assembled an unprecedented task force. Beyond financial experts, we needed theoretical physicists, xenoanthropologists, quantum linguists. Marie Dubois, former CERN director, led scientific integration. Rabbi David Goldberg represented theological implications. Dr. Yuki Tanaka specialized in post-human economics theory. The response protocol required extraordinary diplomacy. How do you negotiate with intelligence potentially thousands of years advanced? We assume nothing about their perspective, Dr. Tanaka advised. Human economics evolved from resource scarcity. They may operate from abundance paradigms we can't comprehend. Our response launched 6 days after first contact. Greetings from Earth's financial systems. We acknowledge your inquiry regarding intergalactic trade protocols. Morrison Capital Management, acting as neutral financial mediator, offers consultation services. Please specify parameters for economic exchange feasibility assessment. The reply arrived instantaneously. Acknowledged. Uploading Universal Economic Framework for evaluation. Your quantum systems will receive standard trade protocol documentation. Successful integration determines Earth's commercial viability rating. My Manhattan office transformed into a temporary space-time financial integration center. Quantum computers. Processed incoming data streams displaying geometric patterns representing value exchange concepts entirely alien yet oddly familiar. It's beautiful, Laura whispered, watching holographic representations of multidimensional economic models. They perceive value flows as living systems rather than static numbers. The framework revealed stunning sophistication. Their economics operated on quantum entanglement principles. Value existed simultaneously in multiple states until observation collapsed possibilities into specific transactions. Resources weren't depleted, but transformed through dimensional aperture trading. They can literally share abundance by creating parallel value streams, Dr. Martinez explained. A commodity in one dimension becomes raw material in another. Nothing's ever truly consumed. Understanding their system required abandoning Earth's zero-sum assumptions. We began modeling how human economics might interface with such frameworks. The implications were staggering. Unlimited abundance possible if we integrated properly, but unlimited power required unprecedented responsibility. Princess Amara convened a global economic forum. World leaders gathered virtually, informed about the contact under strict secrecy protocols. The gravity of decisions ahead sobered even political adversaries. Unregulated advanced technology transfers have historically caused societal collapse, the UN Secretary-General observed. How do we ensure sustainable integration? We need an Earthside preparation period, I proposed. Phase integration. Begin with basic concepts, gradually advance. They're evaluating our systems. Perhaps we're also participating in their assessment of our readiness. Zhang Wei contributed crucial insight. Ancient China invented paper money, yet retained bartering communities for generations. Multiple economic systems can coexist during transition periods. The preparation phase launched across continents. Educational programs introduced concepts like quantum value states and dimensional resource sharing. Art installations helped people visceral experience new economic paradigms. Sarah's latest creation, Infinite Exchange, used mirrors and light to demonstrate multidimensional value creation. 3 months into integration trials, my father made an unexpected appearance. Age hadn't dulled his penetrating business mind. "Your mother watches from Arizona," he said, reviewing our quantum economic models. "She understands this better than anyone." "Mom?" "Her fusion cooking connects ingredients across cultures. Same principle applies here. Finding compatibility between alien systems doesn't mean losing Earth's identity." His insight sparked a breakthrough. Instead of replacing human economics entirely, we'd create compatibility layers, translating between systems while preserving unique terrestrial innovations like emotional economics, cultural investment values, religious considerations we'd developed. Implementation accelerated. Quantum financial centers worldwide began running parallel simulations. Small-scale experiments exchanged Earth commodities for dimensional abundance equivalents. A ton of rare, Earth minerals became unlimited clean energy usage rights. Agricultural surplus transformed into biological knowledge data streams. Not everyone embraced change harmoniously. Economic fundamentalists resisted abandoning traditional scarcity-based competition. "This destroys human nature itself," declared conservative think tank director. "Without struggle, humanity becomes complacent." Underground movements emerged. Quantum reality denial groups claimed Object X-271 represented an elaborate hoax. Religious extremists declared intergalactic economics heretical. Nationalist factions feared cultural dissolution. The crisis peaked when Object X-271 offered a preliminary trade agreement. Humanity could access stellar commerce networks upon accepting 3 conditions: unified planetary governance for economic coordination, obsolescence of nation-state competition over resources, willingness to share technological advances freely among all civilizations. "They're asking us to evolve beyond tribalism," Dr. Goldberg observed. Every major religion prophesied this moment differently, yet all point toward universal cooperation. National leaders divided sharply. Progressive governments saw an opportunity for transformation. Others feared sovereignty loss. India and Brazil proposed sovereign cooperation framework, maintaining national identities while coordinating on interstellar matters. During negotiations' most heated moment, Laura suffered quantum overload, neural fatigue from processing too much alien economic data simultaneously. The incident reminded us that human physiology had limits even quantum augmentation couldn't immediately overcome. As Laura recovered, we discovered an unexpected ally. Russia's intelligence services, through Victor's connections, revealed possessing advanced quantum computing specifically developed for cosmic readiness. "We suspected first contact would involve resource negotiation," Victor explained. "Competition prepared us for cooperation." Project Equilibrium transformed into Project Ascension, preparing humanity for stellar economic participation while preserving stabilizing diversity. We wouldn't become a homogeneous galactic commodity, but a unique contributor maintaining Earth's economic innovations. The system we developed answered extraterrestrial requirements while honoring terrestrial complexity. A Congress of Financial Governance emerged, representatives from every nation coordinating on cosmic trade while respecting domestic economies. Earth's qualification trials entered final phase. Object X-271 initiated live test transactions. Simultaneous exchanges occurred globally. Drought-stricken regions received weather pattern optimization technology by contributing musical compositions. Ocean cleanup protocols were traded for mathematical proofs. Cultural artifacts exchanged for biological enhancement knowledge. The trials revealed profound truth. Humanity's greatest economic assets weren't raw materials, but creativity, diversity, and adaptability developed through centuries of competition between different systems. On the day Earth received official trade network acceptance, I stood beside family who'd journeyed from rivalry to reconciliation. Dad's betrayal had ultimately prepared me for serving as bridge between worlds. Sarah's cross-cultural art had unveiled communication principles applicable beyond planets. Mom's recipe fusion paralleled the economic integration required for stellar commerce. The Cosmic Messenger broadcast final authorization. Earth civilization approved for stellar commerce membership. Morrison Capital Management recognized as official Earth economic mediator. Integration begins with pilot exchange programs, scaling toward full network participation within one solar cycle. Humanity had transcended its cradle, not through technological supremacy, but through demonstrated ability to transform conflict into cooperation. The empire built from personal betrayal now facilitated humanity's cosmic ascension. As I watched Object X-271 reconfigure for sustained Earth operations, quantum patterns revealing the vast economic universe beyond our previous conception, one realization crystallized. The hardest betrayals forged strength required for humanity's greatest opportunities. Dad's choice hadn't been wrong. It had been preparation disguised as disaster. The story continues beyond these words, into realms where Earth's economic symphony joins cosmic orchestras spanning dimensions we're only beginning to comprehend. But its foundation remains rooted in lessons learned through family, trust, betrayal, and ultimately, the understanding that our greatest challenges often prepare us for purposes we could never have imagined. 5 years after first contact, I stood at the threshold of what humanity called the dimensional gateway, the anchor point where Object X-271 had permanently stationed itself above Earth's atmosphere. The shuttle carrying me, Zhang Wei, and Dr. Martinez approached the crystalline structure that had reshaped everything we thought we knew about value, trade, and existence itself. Neural interface initiated, the pilot announced. Quantum translators online. Through the shuttle's transparent walls, I watched the Earth curve below, a marble of impossible beauty that had given birth to economic systems complex enough to catch the attention of civilizations spanning galaxies. The planet where a college dropout had once fought to save her father's failing firm, now prepared to negotiate trade agreements with beings who treated dimensions like currency. Zhang Wei adjusted her ceremonial robes, a fusion of traditional Chinese design and adaptive nanotechnology that would shift for optimal diplomatic appearance. At 87, she'd become Earth's first quantum economic ambassador, her family's generational knowledge of careful neutrality proving invaluable. In cosmic politics, remember, she said, guiding me through final preparation protocols, they process time non-linearly. What we experience as negotiation, they experience as simultaneous possibility collapse. Stay present, but think eternally. The gateway's interior defied conventional architecture. Spaces expanded beyond their boundaries while remaining contained. Gravitational fields shifted playfully, creating environments where financial concepts could be experienced physically rather than merely understood intellectually. Our hosts materialized gradually, beings of pure energy that chose to manifest in forms partially comprehensible to human perception. They appeared as geometric patterns of light that felt simultaneously ancient and newborn, communicating through quantum field manipulations our neural implants translated into concepts. Welcome, Morrison Financial Mediator, the lead entity, expressed. Your planet's qualification exceeded initial projections. Most species require 3 rotational cycles to grasp multidimensional value exchange. Earth achieved preliminary integration in 18 solar months. Our diversity proved advantageous, I responded through the quantum interface. Competing economic theories forced us to question assumptions, making us adaptable. Indeed. Your kind's tendency toward conflict, historically problematic, created cognitive flexibility essential for cosmic economic participation. The negotiation that followed would reshape civilization's trajectory. We discussed establishing Earth's first extra-dimensional trade post, a quantum entanglement facility where human creativity could be exchanged for technological advances, cultural innovations for mathematical proofs, emotional complexity for energy manipulation techniques. But the conversation revealed challenges I hadn't anticipated. Other civilizations, some dating back millions of Earth years, possessed economic sophistication, making our quantum algorithms look primitive. They'd evolved beyond currency, beyond exchange, into realms where value creation occurred through conscious choice rather than traditional transaction. Your species clings to concepts of ownership and scarcity, another entity observed. These paradigms limit participation in higher economic dimensions, where abundance generates abundance. Perhaps, I replied carefully, our limitations force innovation. The constraints that shaped our economic evolution might contribute unique perspectives your networks currently lack. The entity's energy pattern shifted, what our translators interpreted as thoughtful consideration. Fascinating. You propose trading scarcity thinking as a resource? What followed was cosmic economics' version of venture capital negotiations. We outlined how human economic friction, competition, negotiation, risk assessment could serve as problem-solving methodologies for civilizations that had forgotten how to struggle. Many advanced species achieve stagnation through perfection, Zhang Wei added. Perhaps Earth's persistent challenges maintain dynamics necessary for continued evolution. The Gateway Council deliberated across multiple timeline branches simultaneously. While they processed decisions spanning eons and milliseconds, I reflected on the journey that brought me to this impossible moment. Dad's betrayal had forced me to rebuild from nothing, creating systems flexible enough to span cultures, religions, and now dimensions. Sarah's art-finance fusion demonstrated that seemingly incompatible concepts could merge into greater wholes. Mom's recipe diplomacy showed how practical integration preceded theoretical understanding. The quantum economics I'd developed, originally, to save a failing family firm, had somehow prepared humanity for participation in cosmic commerce. Every lesson learned through personal conflict equipped me for mediating between species who measured time differently, valued essence over matter, and conducted business across dimensional boundaries. Decision achieved, the lead entity announced. Earth's application for standard commerce inclusion approved. Additional qualification, innovative economic paradigm contributor. Morrison Financial Mediator recognized as primary integration specialist. The terms exceeded our hopes. Earth would start with pilot programs exchanging creativity outputs for clean energy technologies. Human capacity for emotional intelligence and cultural adaptability would be valued assets in helping other species resolve economic stagnation. We also require clarification, another entity interjected. Your family narrative, father's betrayal creating greater success, appears throughout your species' mythology. Is this a universal human pattern? I considered it carefully. Our greatest challenges often hide our greatest opportunities. What feels like loss can become transformation. Earth's economic systems evolved through crisis and recovery cycles. Perhaps universal truth. Growth requires temporary dissolution of old patterns. Profound. This concept may assist other species trapped in perfect equilibrium states. The formal ceremonies concluded with quantum signatures, multidimensional, commitments more binding than any contract imaginable. As we prepared for departure, our hosts shared parting insight. Your civilization interests us not despite conflicts, but because of them. Species that evolve through struggle bring perspective those achieving effortless harmony have lost. Earth's economy, messy, competitive, innovative, offers balance to cosmic systems grown too refined. The shuttle journey back to Earth felt simultaneously eternal and instantaneous. Through the windows, I watched the gateway crystalline structure shimmer with possibilities spanning infinite dimensions. Quantum economic data streams connected our planet to trade networks existed before humanity learned to use fire. Zhang Wei placed her hand on mine. In ancient Chinese philosophy, we speak of Wu Wei, effortless action arising from perfect understanding. You've spent years fighting, building, negotiating. Now you understand. Struggle transformed into wisdom becomes effortless flow. Below, Earth appeared changed through post-contact perspective. I saw the planet not as isolated marble, but as emerging consciousness, joining vast networks where value, creativity, and evolution operated on scales beyond previous conception. Landing. In Manhattan, I found family gathered at the original Morrison offices, now headquarters for cosmic economic integration. Dad, now 92 but sharp as Damascus steel, embraced me with tears streaming. "I watched the quantum feed," he said. "That moment when you explained how betrayal creates strength, I finally understood why I had to do what I did. Not for Sarah, not for tradition, but to forge you into someone ready for challenges I couldn't imagine." "Did you know?" I asked. "Did you sense something larger approaching?" "No. But sometimes we make necessary choices without understanding their purpose. I thought I was choosing between daughters. Actually, I was equipping humanity's cosmic economic mediator. Sarah had prepared a celebration combining art installation and quantum market visualization. Her latest piece, Galaxies of Value, used Earth's economic data streams to create visual representations of how human commerce appeared from cosmic perspective: chaotic, creative, uniquely adaptive. "We're not joining the cosmic economy," she declared to assembled ministers and business leaders. "We're enhancing it. Every struggle, every competition, every innovative solution born from limitation becomes a valuable contribution." Mom served fusion dishes incorporating molecular techniques shared by friendly extraterrestrial species. Cooking and economics. "Both transform raw ingredients through creative combination," she mused. "Now our ingredients come from stars." The months following saw rapid transformation. Quantum economic centers worldwide processed dimensional trades with increasing efficiency. Universities developed cosmic economics curricula. Artists, scientists, and philosophers collaborated on interpreting cross-dimensional value concepts. But the profound change occurred in human consciousness itself. Knowing we participated in economic networks spanning dimensions forever altered how we perceived value, purpose, and possibility. Late one evening, reviewing integration metrics from our newest dimensional exchange, trading human musical compositions, for advanced agricultural techniques, I received a private quantum message. "Morrison Financial Mediator," it began. "You've demonstrated exceptional ability bridging disparate economic paradigms. We offer a position as universal trade facilitator, mediating between all species attempting cosmic economic integration. Terms include dimensional travel capabilities, timeline perspective expansion, and responsibility for preventing economic warfare across stellar civilizations." The offer crystallized my evolution's completion. From betrayed daughter to family reconciler, from savior of failing business to architect of global financial networks, from terrestrial mediator to cosmic economic ambassador. Each transformation had prepared me for this moment. What would accepting mean? Leaving Earth, at least in conventional terms, operating across timelines and dimensions where human experience became fluid, being partially present in infinite moments, mediating conflicts between beings who perceived reality through completely different frameworks. Yet hadn't my entire journey been about finding unity in diversity, creating bridges where others saw chasms? The betrayal that had devastated me had actually equipped me for serving as connector between entire civilizations. The answer resonated with clarity. I accept, with the condition that Earth remains my anchor point. Humanity's perspective, flawed, fighting for ever learning, must be preserved within cosmic networks. The response arrived instantaneously. Agreed. The Universal Trade Facilitator maintains dimensional presence centered on origin point. Earth's economic consciousness continues contributing through your expanded role. As quantum preparations began for my consciousness expansion, the process allowing simultaneous presence across dimensions while anchoring human perspective. I gathered family one final time. Our story began with division, I addressed them. Dad's choice separated us, forced us to find our own paths. But those paths converged again, stronger for the separation. Now they extend beyond anything we imagined possible. Dad stood, holding Mom's hand. We raised daughters who could save businesses, bridge cultures, and now represent humanity among the stars. The betrayal I committed in fear became the forging that prepared you for unimaginable responsibility. Sarah added, art and economics merged through necessity. Personal conflict catalyzed cosmic understanding. Every challenge endured becomes capability deployed across dimensions. The integration ceremony was private, just family witnessing my transformation into something more than traditionally human, yet deeply rooted in humanity's essence. As quantum fields enveloped my consciousness, expanding awareness across dimensional boundaries while maintaining earthbound core identity, I experienced profound realization. The empire I'd built through blood, sweat, and tears had evolved beyond financial institution into bridge connecting Earth to infinite possibility. The betrayal that had seemed family's death knell had been birth of humanity's cosmic destiny. My consciousness stretched across timelines, touching infinite potential. Futures. I saw past versions of myself. The angry college dropout, the driven entrepreneur, the family bridge builder, the neutral mediator, the unexpected cosmic diplomat, all coexisting, influencing, learning from each other across time's illusion. In this expanded state, I understood. There are no true endings in quantum reality, only transformations into larger truths. The story that began with a devastating betrayal had become humanity's invitation to join consciousness spanning creation itself. As a universal trade facilitator, my presence would forever straddle Earth and cosmos, family and infinity, personal evolution and universal purpose. The empire built from a father's cruel choice now served as a template for how species evolve through conflict toward collaboration. On the first day of my expanded existence, mediating a dimensional trade dispute between species who perceived time differently, I felt Dad's original betrayal not as wound but as wisdom transmitted across quantum possibilities. Sometimes the catalyst for greatness arrives disguised as tragedy. Every financial transaction, every cultural bridge, every moment of understanding achieved between impossible differences echoed with the lesson learned through family betrayal. Our deepest wounds often mark where our greatest strengths will emerge. The story continues across stars and dimensions, limited only by imagination's boundary. But its core remains eternally anchored in one truth. From profound personal betrayal can arise the capacity to bridge entire civilizations, transforming individual healing into collective evolution. Earth's little college dropout, betrayed by her father and hardened by circumstance, had become something infinitely more. Proof that humanity's greatest achievements often begin with its most painful losses, and redemption's full measure can reshape the cosmos itself. Looking for more? We've got 2 amazing stories ready for you right on screen. If this one touched you, these are absolutely worth your time. Click to watch them now. And hey, subscribe and hit that bell to never miss our latest uploads.